Hey folks, Vinny Politan here with your CourtTV update, and yes, I'm not alone.
You're not alone. I'm finally here.
Finally, Seema Iyer has made it here to CourtTV. Great to have you aboard.
Thank you so much.
So every day we come to you here on social media, different platforms, let you know what's happening at CourtTV and some of the cases that we've been following, and you've been busy.
I have been busy helping you, right? We're launching CourtTV. We're working hard every day because we are going to be what? Your front row seat to justice. That's
Absolutely,
right.
absolutely. And one of the things that we're doing as we get ready, obviously, May is the relaunch of the network. As we get ready for that date, we've got to keep an eye on all the cases, stories, and trials that are out there. And
all across the country, we're tracking them all. We're finding the best cases, the most compelling cases to bring to you live.
Okay, now one of the stories that we've been tracking for you is the story of the young girl, Jayme. You may recall she went missing for 88 days, was abducted. Her parents were murdered. She miraculously escaped and was saved. And now the person that investigators believe and prosecutors believe is responsible for it, Jake Patterson, has now been charged with the double murder and the abduction. So
it was really just an incredibly harrowing case. And the fact that Jake Patterson went to extreme lengths to not be found, to secret Jayme for the 88 days. But then, for me, off the bat, what's just the most shocking part is the minute the cops pull him over, he says, I did it.
Yeah, well,
I think that's what really gets
and that's going to really impact the way this whole case plays out. What I want to do right now is he was in court yesterday for the first time. We got to see Jake Patterson. The first time he appeared, he was still in jail. And now he's in an actual courtroom for a preliminary hearing. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday.
All right.
Please be seated. I am calling 19 CF 20. It's State versus Jake Patterson. Mr. Patterson appears in person and with attorneys Richard Jones and Charles Glynn. The state appears by District Attorney Brian Wright and Assistant District Attorney John O'Boyle and Assistant Attorney General Annie Jay. This is the time scheduled for preliminary examination. Mr. Glynn, you inform me that your client wishes to waive preliminary examination?
Your Honor, Mr. Patterson is prepared at this time to waive his right to a preliminary hearing.
Okay. Mr. Patterson, do you understand that you are charged with felonies and you're entitled to a preliminary examination if you want one?
Oh, yes.
And you also may waive that. A preliminary examination is not a trial. Witnesses would be called by the state to testify against you, and you have the right to have your attorneys cross-examine them. You also have the right to present your own evidence. The purpose of a preliminary examination is to determine whether probable cause exists. Probable cause means facts together with reasonable inferences from those facts, which would lead a reasonable person to conclude that a felony has probably been committed and that you probably committed it. If the court finds there is probable cause to believe that you did commit a felony, you would be required to stand trial. If the court does not find probable cause, the charges would be dismissed or reduced, or the state may refile. Do you understand your right to a preliminary examination?
Yes, sir.
Do you want a preliminary examination?
No.
And do you understand the charges against you at this time?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to discuss the waiver of preliminary examination with your attorneys?
Yes.
Did anyone make any threats or promises to get you to waive this right to a preliminary examination?
No.
Mr. Glynn, have you and Mr. Jones haven't had enough time to discuss the issue of waiver of preliminary examination?
We have, Your Honor.
And are you satisfied that his waiver is knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily given?
We are.
Okay. The court will find that Mr. Patterson's waiver of preliminary examination is knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily given, and the court will bind him over for trial. I have found a date for arraignment. Is the state willing to or ready to file an information?
The state is ready, Your Honor. I have provided a copy of the information both to Mr. Glenn and Mr. Jones prior to the hearing. May I approach?
Yes. All right. I will accept the information. I will schedule arraignment for March 27th at 1 p.m. Does that work, Mr. Glenn?
That does, thank you.
And does that work for the state?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else I need to address at this time, Mr. Wright
No, Your Honor.
and Mr. Glenn?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we're adjourned.
All right, so obviously that was really fast, but we did get to see
So
we did get to
fast.
see the defendant, and
Right.
it seemed like he was interacting with some family members who were there today. What do you make of all that?
I heard there was an I love you going back and forth, which is really standard, right? Like this is stuff that we see all the time in court because family members often don't get to see their loved ones when they're incarcerated. So it's very emotional for both the accused as well as the family. So you got to see the I love you. I think what struck me, even though it was such a short hearing, he seemed very composed.
Yeah.
He seemed very cognizant of the surroundings, of the proceeding itself. He was fidgeting in his chair, but you know what's interesting about the fidgeting? It wasn't the fidgeting of someone who was unwell. It was just. It
When you
seemed
say unwell, you
normal
mean
or
like
mentally ill.
mental
yeah,
illness.
He didn't seem like
No, not at all.
You know how you see those guys who are fidgeting in their chair, and you know, okay, this guy does not know what's going on.
Right,
or
they could
this
be
girl-
rocking back and
Right,
forth, talking to
right,
themselves.
Exactly. Whereas he was just, you know, like how we would fidget, a normal, nervous fidgeting, but very present, very mindful of his surroundings.
All right, so the first thing, right, you look at this case, right, and there's an alleged confession made
Sure.
by the defendant about everything that he did. It's in the reports that we have
It's
here.
so detailed. I mean, would the
Does
report,
that throw out of the box, based on that and what you saw, an insanity defense? Because what defense
Okay.
could he potentially have here?
Right. So I think, yes, it does. And here's why I say that. Because he tells us that he targeted Jayme Claus. It's not, now, insanity, let me give you an example. In my opinion, insanity would be him saying, I saw Beyonce, I wanted to kidnap Beyonce, I went.
wanted
and
to
how-"
save her.
Right, I wanted to save her. So he would say, oh yeah, sure, I kidnapped Beyonce. No, he says that he kidnapped that person. He planned it and he orchestrated it. So for insanity, it would not be insane because he knew what he was doing. Whether it was right or wrong, that's a separate issue, but you have to have both, right? So he knew what he was doing.
Didn't
Now-
have that break from reality.
Right. But I do think it's important because I think a lot of people don't understand that that type of criminal mind is a mental illness. It is what psychologists and psychiatrists look at as being mentally ill. However, the law doesn't recognize
Right.
that.
Mental
That's the
illness is
problem.
one thing. That's
Sure.
a medical condition, right?
Of course, yeah.
Legal insanity is a legal standard. Do you know the difference between right and wrong at the time that you did what you're accused of doing? So looking forward in this case now, right? So we're here in the beginning. Wisconsin, no death penalty. So,
Oh, yeah,
so there's no
that's-
negotiation about, all right, I'll take a deal for life. I don't see a deal here unless he's just going to plead to the charges and take life without the possibility of parole. Prosecutors, I wouldn't offer him a deal with this strong
Why,
evidence.
yeah, why would you? And with this kind of community support, you remember when she went missing, there were about 2,000 volunteers out looking for this young woman. Why would the prosecution even consider a deal? Does he deserve one? Is there anything mitigating in his
Right.
life? I don't know. Maybe
And it's
this
double
is,
murder. And the
Sure.
allegations are that he went into the home, even before he goes in the home, he shoots the father at the door, then goes up to the bathroom where Jayme and her mom are cowering in the bathtub after they called 911. And he then has the mother duct tape Jayme's mouth and then in front of Jayme shoots
Yeah.
the mother. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no mitigating factors
No.
here at all. So I don't see a deal. So I think this is one we're going to have to continue to track.
But I do think the defense will be looking at his past and looking at his history to present some mitigation, right? They have to do their job. They can't just throw in the towel.
Right.
They can't.
A mitigation, and are you talking about presuming that he's
Okay.
found guilty? Let's
So-
talk about the trial, though.
Sure.
Will there be a trial? Do you think
I
this
don't
thing
think
goes
so.
to trial?
No. How?
What's he going to plead to? He's just going to say, I'm pleading guilty. I did it. That's it. It's over.
I think they would try to get some type of finite plea. I think they're going to try to do that.
It's life without parole.
Yeah,
right.
I just can't see this going to trial, unless here's the
Well,
other
and so
issue. This
there's
guy,
one thing. There is one thing.
Sure.
And I should have thought of this before. One reason why there may be some deal is to avoid prosecutors having to call Jayme
Great
to the
point.
witness stand
Excellent,
and bring her
excellent
in
point.
court and be in the room with the man she says murdered her mother and father and abducted her for 88
Yeah,
days.
that's a good point.
So I think that's the only thing that they can discuss.
I think you're right. I think it would really save that girl such heartache that she's probably going to suffer from for the rest of her life.
All right, folks, we're keeping you up to date with cases that we're following and what's happening here at CourtTV. Make sure you continue to follow us on our Facebook page at CourtTV. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's my name, Vinny Politan.
Where am I? Okay,
Where are
I'm
you?
on Twitter at Seema Iyer ESQ and Facebook at Seema Iyer ESQ.
ESQ. That's like
ESQ.
because you're a lawyer.
Well, I have to keep reminding people of that. See, that's
Good
the
stuff.
deal.
All right, we're here, folks. CourtTV relaunches this May.